Is that window okay open?
Yeah.
All right.
Isn't it always open?
Testing. Well, yeah, but it's open more today. It's wide.
Feel the
Wide
rain on
open
your skin.
spaces. All right.
Oh, let's see how that sounds.
Okay. Jeez.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Madeline.
We're back.
We sure are.
Hello. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday. Happy Sports Gossip Show NFL documentary review day.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
It is.
That's a mouthful, but it works.
Well, it wasn't the smoothest of sentences I could have said. No, we're calling this
SGS Doc Extravaganza.
Oh, that works.
Does that work?
Yeah. Doc Extravaganza, examining the NFL's documentary industrial complex.
Yes.
If you clicked on it, that's what it's called.
That's what it's called.
I think. I don't know.
We don't know. We'll see.
Off to a roaring start.
A roaring start.
No, I'm really excited for this episode.
Same.
We watched many hours of
Oh my God.
NFL documentaries. We watched on Netflix America's Team, the Cowboy and His Gamblers, about Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys and the Cowboys in the 90s mostly. We watched Quarterback.
Yep. Also on Netflix.
Yep.
All about quarterbacks in the NFL.
Currently. Yep. We watched Hard Knocks on HBO about Madeline's Buffalo Bills.
My team, Bills Madfia. Let's go.
Bills
Come
Madfia.
on. Bills Madfia.
And we have a lot of thoughts about all of it. And the reason we did this is because it feels like there is a glut of docs about sports. Obviously, we all know that. You could argue it started with The Last Dance about Michael Jordan in 2020 and then Drive to Survive. And both of those things were huge hits in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. There were no live sports, really. I mean, there were some, but it was limited for a while. So those were sort of great conditions. And then it seems like everybody has sort of been chasing the sports doc goldmine.
Yeah.
And it may have slowed slightly, but we got these three this fall.
Yeah, we did. And it felt like they all came out pretty close to each other, no?
I think so.
Like within
this fall, like
yeah.
August, September-ish.
Yeah, I mean, it is NFL season, so I guess that's
right.
Going off the sports calendar.
They are
here.
doing this around a tentpole event, folks, which we like to
like,
call week one of the NFL.
Why didn't they release these NFL documentaries in March? You're like
just in time for the NBA playoffs
and March Madness.
Yes. So we've said we were going to do this for a while. So some of you might have watched some of these with us. Before we start, one thing I have to say about the Cowboys doc. We're going to tell you what each of these are. There is a theme song that goes like ooh. Ooh.
That was harmonious.
Not terrible.
We have a lot of singing on this episode already.
We sure do. And if you recognize that, so that's the runs in the beginning of the Cowboys doc, and I was like,
what is this?
I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Realize it's the Modelo commercials that play during sports games.
Yeah.
Also, it ran during a Rolex commercial.
Yep.
And this was the theme music this was an Italian version of theme music to Il Buono, Il Brutto, Il Cattivo, which is, I think, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Or, yeah, and it's by a composer, Ennio Morricone, I don't know. It's great music.
Yeah.
But why is everything using it?
I know. It's like, I feel like once a song has been used once in pop culture, you can't use it again. Because it's all I'm thinking about is that it's the same music, Yeah. It's not like it's Happy Birthday.
Well, that would be funny if that were the theme music to the Cowboys.
I would love that.
Yeah.
No, but it is weird. It's like, do some new music? I don't know.
Well, I also feel like
good song, but new music.
Do the creators of the Cowboys doc not watch sports?
Right. Interesting.
Because if you watch sports, you can't escape that music.
No.
Do the people who make the Rolex commercials not watch sports?
Also interesting.
So here's what I'll say.
What?
If you need any creative consultants, that you want to pay because you're doing a project involving sports, but you don't watch them, Wilder Hill Media,
we're available
at your service.
We have lots of services and swim lanes, as they say in corporate.
No, they
swim
don't.
Lane. Yeah,
I've never heard that.
Swim lanes, content pillars. We can make a deck. We can look at analytics.
Swim lanes?
We can give qualitative and quantitative insights. Whatever you need, we got it.
We're company women.
Wilder Hill Media Inc. Info at sportsgossipshow.com. Or not.
Yeah, we don't.
Whatever. Know. Anyways, okay. Let's get into the first documentary.
Okay.
America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. It is a documentary that chronicles the history of the Cowboys under the leadership and ownership of Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
From beginning, from the what year did I don't even remember when he bought him.
He bought him in 84. Wait, we should know this.
Somewhere
I'm just gonna Google it.
It's almost like a oral history, is how I would describe it.
89. He bought him in 89 for 140 million. Yeah, as I was watching it, I was like, this isn't a doc. This is like the Saturday Night Live oral history book I read in high school.
Yes.
Those, or the ESPN one, like those guys have all the fun.
Right.
These were the guys telling you about the guys.
Correct. Guys talking about guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we both, I'm going to speak for both of us here, definitely the most entertaining.
For sure. I wouldn't describe it as a documentary more so than a piece of entertainment content. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like I was watching it and I was captivated by the twists and turns and reveals as if I'm watching a scripted show.
Yes.
More than I'm like learning facts about a man who owns a football team and single-handedly changed the course of the NFL.
Truly. Yeah.
Forever.
And I think that there's something very meta about the viewing experience because most of the throughout the show, you learn that Jerry Jones's whole deal is he wanted to make the Cowboys a soap opera 365 days a year because he realized attention and entertainment is what really hooks people and keeps them in. Mm-hmm. And here they are releasing this very entertaining documentary.
Yeah.
So for those of you who didn't watch it, basically the broad strokes of it are Jerry bought the Cowboys in 1989. Jerry Jones went to the University of Arkansas, played football there with a guy named Jimmy Johnson. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because Jerry then hired Jimmy Johnson to be the coach of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And they sort of built the team together, won 2 Super Bowls with quarterback Troy Aikman, wide receiver Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, the greatest running back of all time, and then had a friendship breakup because Jimmy and Jerry each wanted all the credit for what they had built. Jerry fires Jimmy. New guy, Barry Switzer, comes in. They also had a history with him because Jimmy and he had been at Oklahoma. He was Troy Aikman's coach in college. I mean, all of this it was the messiest.
So messy.
The messiest.
So
messy. To wrap this up, basically, they win one more Super Bowl with Barry, and then there are a bunch of scandals that happen. Michael Irvin has a trial for cocaine because he had bought a house where women would come through and all sorts of stuff. Barry Switzer was arrested at the airport with a loaded gun.
Yeah.
One guy crashes his car because he's drunk and on painkillers. Troy Aikman, the quarterback, and Barry, the coach, kind of hate each other.
Yeah.
Barry accuses Troy of being racist. All of Troy's teammates are like, he's not, but some people still love Barry. And then everything blows up, and the Cowboys have not been back to the Super Bowl in 30 years. Mm-hmm. I'd say that's a pretty accurate.
That summed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it was a lot of hours of content around all the messiness and drama as a way to distract from the fact that the Cowboys aren't good right now.
Yes. That's
what it felt like to me. Like we were talking about this, that I was like, why do they make this now? You know? And obviously part of it is, sure, I wasn't born in 1989. So I don't know what the Cowboys were up to.
I was born in 1989, so I didn't know what was going on.
Exactly. So part of me is like, oh, this is interesting. Like for people who weren't around to remember what was going on in that time in the 90s during all of the messiness associated with the Cowboys, I can understand from that perspective of being like, oh, you're learning something new, but then also simultaneously, as someone who co-hosts this show and cares about what's going on off the field, the behind the scenes, the why behind stories in sports, to me, the why that they put this out now, yes, of course, it's football season. As we said, they didn't put this out in March, is because the Cowboys aren't doing so well. And Jerry, because he's the master puppeteer of the Cowboys, he wants some sort of entertainment factor coming out around his team to distract from the fact that they're not very good.
Right. Because this whole thing is entertainment.
Yes.
And Troy Aikman, the quarterback even of those great teams, who is now an announcer with ESPN for Monday Night Football, there are also just a lot of parallels throughout this Cowboys doc to what is happening now with the Cowboys. Jerry gets into a huge contract dispute with Emmitt Smith, and says at the time, I have a higher tolerance for ambiguity than most people, and ends up, they play a few games and lose without Emmitt, so he doesn't have leverage, so he has to pay Emmitt. I think now Jerry, as he gets older, feels, he seems to feel like he is even more powerful. And so when a contract dispute comes along with a guy like Micah Parsons, who's the best defensive player in the NFL, Jerry doesn't pay him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't think he has to. And he is also the GM of the team. And so in regards to the Micah Parsons stuff, Troy said recently on the Rich Eisen show, I believe, he said, I saw Jerry talk about the fact that having the Cowboys as a discussion point is meaningful to him. And if people aren't talking about the Cowboys, then he'll do things to stir it up. So he kind of walked into that and has given the impression that that supersedes winning.
Yeah, he'll do anything to serve himself and his legacy owning the Cowboys, essentially.
Yes.
He doesn't really care.
I would also argue.
What?
So a lot of the current footage was taken in 2023.
Yeah.
And that was a year that the Cowboys were legitimately good for the first time in a long time. And they thought, Jerry's like, I can't believe I'm even saying the word Super Bowl. I think it was the first round of the playoffs. They lost 40 to not like it wasn't good
Yeah.
to the Green Bay Packers, who had a new quarterback, Jordan Love, who no one thought was going to be as good as he was in those playoffs. And the cameras capture that. So I think Jerry thought this would be a redemption story.
100%.
Where it was like, oh, the year we finally go back to the Super Bowl, we have a film crew. And instead it ended up being like, well, Jerry screwed it up again.
Right. Yeah, but that's totally what he was thinking. I mean, this whole documentary, if we can call it a documentary. I mean, I guess it was, but I think there's room for debate on that. It feels like it was creative directed by Jerry Jones. Like even the set, like I kept calling this Landman to Charlotte. I was like, oh, I got to watch another episode of Landman, because if you recall, Jerry Jones makes a cameo appearance in an episode of Landman, and it goes on,
which is a show by Taylor Sheridan.
Yes, a fictional show
about oil,
which
is how Jerry made his money.
And Jerry goes on a monologue about like family and sacrifices and making money from oil and blah 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 blah.
Working with your kids.
And I was watching it, and I feel like Jerry Jones shot that and then was like, I want a documentary shot in the style of this universe. Because I was watching, I was like, this is Landman. It's like he's just
came first, though.
Did it?
I think
you think?
I think that this probably, they could have been happening at the same time, because that was a recent.
Well, either way, then.
If
this came first, then he was like, I need to be in a fictional show to build my Landman cowboy, like I'm a cowboy cinematic universe for himself. But just watching it, I was like, this just felt like a creative project for Jerry Jones.
Yes.
It was shot very interesting. Like stylistically, it looked good. Like it was cool transitions, cool filters. The interview setups were interesting.
Very.
But it was like, it wasn't a documentary.
No. And that's the part about this that I think Jerry Jones has really did shape how the NFL is today.
Yeah.
He broke a lot of rules. He got sponsorships when teams weren't allowed to get individual sponsorships. He went rogue to get a bunch of money from Fox to broadcast the games. I mean, it's worth watching because even though it is like a Jerry Jones is larger than life is basically the whole point of the show, it's not, those facts are true.
100%.
And from that standpoint, very interesting. But because Jerry's a showman, because Jerry knows the value of entertainment and marketing, and he talks about that, he knew that they had to give audiences something. They had to get into some messiness. He had to admit that the team hasn't been good lately. He had to say, well, Jerry's a flawed human, maybe is a takeaway of this whole thing. And you're like, well, right.
Great accent.
Thank you. They also get into, Michael Irvin's cocaine trial. They talk about the car crash. They get into how Troy and Barry hated each other. There is no mention that Michael Irvin and Jerry Jones both have multiple instances where they've been accused of sexual assault.
Correct.
Or settled cases. There are no women interviewed besides Jerry Jones's daughter Charlotte, who's the chief marketing officer, until the 7th episode, when ESPN's Andrea Kramer is featured only to talk about Michael Irvin's cocaine trial.
Yeah.
Because cocaine, it's like, well, he did drugs. It's not like, what was he doing in his personal life, really?
Right. And there are no counterpoints or other perspectives besides those that serve the interests of Jerry Jones and the Cowboys.
None.
Which, to me, you need to have that to create a fair and balanced documentary.
Right.
It's not a documentary, in my opinion, if you don't have some other perspectives involved that aren't serving the interests of the person at the center of the story, which is Jerry Jones.
Right. But also, they're like, the only way we were going to get Jerry is if he liked what we were doing.
Exactly.
The funniest thing to me, I think that the thing that encapsulates kind of this whole project is that in the first episode and in the last episode, one of the people they interview is former President George W. Bush.
I forgot about that.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, so that's the kind of doc that this is going to be.
Yes.
It's George W. Bush sitting in a leather chair talking about what a genius businessman Jerry Jones is.
Right. To me, it felt like how many big name Cowboys and public figures adjacent to the Cowboys can we shove into this documentary to show that it's good and legitimize it?
Yes.
That's what it felt like.
1,000%.
And listen, I'm not saying it was not entertaining. I said this to you.
Yeah.
It still reminded me, though, of watching The Hills more so than I'm watching a documentary where I'm learning new information. Even though I'm technically, yes, I am learning new information. It felt like it was new information that was like a coloring book. I don't know.
Yes, well, it's new information because we didn't live through every single we weren't covering sports when this was happening.
Exactly.
I would think if you'd been covering sports when all of this was happening, you didn't learn much new from this documentary.
Right.
It was still like filtered through what the narrative of the Cowboys publicly has been.
Right.
And you told me this. I didn't remember this. It was like a few months ago on the show that the last shot of the hills.
Yes, the last shot of the hills is they zoom out and they're on a film set. They're on like a Sony lot or something like that, to show and kind of break the fourth wall that like, oh, this show is scripted. You know, how scripted is this? And that's what it felt like to me watching this documentary.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels scripted. Like it's reality. They're telling us about things that happened and they're interviewing real people who are giving real interviews, but it felt like performative in a way that I felt watching The Hills in Laguna Beach.
Well, and the last shot,
thank you,
of the Cowboys doc, they zoom out and you see all these people that they've been interviewing who are in front of different backdrops the entire time. It's all just one room.
Yeah.
And these various backdrops are just lined up next to each other along the four walls of the studio.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, so it's the same thing.
Right.
Also, I do think that it plays into the idea, people always say like the NFL is scripted. Like Jerry Jones is the person who made the NFL a reality show. Yeah. I would argue Jerry Jones is a person who, along with, the Showtime Lakers and Jerry Buss, two Jerrys.
Oh, two Jerrys. That's
I guess
weird.
You got to be a Jerry.
Got to be a Jerry to write the script.
Got to be a Jerry to get in that writer's room. Where basically he's been doing sports gossip before we were doing sports gossip.
Yes.
But we are trying to do it still with an eye to, well, what's the whole story?
Yes.
And I think it's so meta that you're watching Jerry talk about making a soap opera while you're watching a soap opera, while you're watching it on Netflix, which now airs Selling Sunset, which was created by the same guy who created The Hills. Like it's this like Russian nesting doll of drama and then filtered lenses and the commerce of that drama that then ends up with you, the consumer, because you pay Netflix for it.
Right. It's all in the same universe.
And they pay Jerry Jones.
Yeah, exactly. I would assume so, yes.
Or Jerry Jones gets the residual effects.
Well, they're at least getting something for the cheerleader stock that was also on Netflix.
Right.
Those are
Which
both on Netflix,
also,
so.
right. it's glossy and it's shot in the same style.
Yes.
You know,
it feels premium. And it's interesting, and we'll get into it, but Quarterback is also a Netflix documentary. And I would say in a lot of ways, it's like the complete opposite, because it's like you either get this high value entertainment product, which is the Cowboys documentary, very stylized, probably cost a ton of money to make. I don't even know what the budget was for that.
No, I know.
Like a lot, I would imagine.
A lot.
And then the kind of flip side is Quarterback, which is this sort of like, I don't know, like it reminds me of like a stock image website of just images. You're just like, it's sport, it's football. It's a little bit behind the scenes. It's just, you know. And you're like, that actually in some ways kind of felt more like a documentary.
I agree. No, I agree.
As I'm saying this out loud.
Because there was a clear scope, which was, you know, we're not doing the salacious stuff. We're not doing the stuff off the field. We are talking about these guys as quarterbacks. They followed Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and was there one other?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Wasn't it?
Those three guys.
Just confirm.
I think so. I don't think there were more.
Nope, that was it.
And part of it is, in order to get these current athletes to agree to do this, you have to be like, hey, we're not going to pry into your personal life, because otherwise, why would you ever let yourself get mic'd up? Like, unless you're a showman like Jerry Jones, or someone like Deion Sanders, who played for Jerry, who's now the head coach at Colorado, who also understands the value of making something a spectacle, which I would also argue the funniest part of this is if you look at Bill Belichick, who's the current coach at UNC, who has made a spectacle out of this, but he hates the media. It's like he can't do it correctly.
No.
Or it's like he fell ass backwards into doing it, whereas these guys are like puppeteers.
Well, it'll be interesting then to see, actually, I hadn't thought about this.
Oh my God.
They're doing a documentary, as was reported. Hulu and Disney Plus are doing a documentary about Bill Belichick's era at UNC, which we've talked about on this show.
Yeah.
What will that final product be like? My guess is it'll be more like a Quarterback final product, but it'll be very interesting if it actually dug into more of the drama around the Bill Belichick universe at UNC in the same way that you get in the Cowboys doc.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I didn't even think of that. Oh, I cannot wait.
I can't wait.
But with Quarterback, it's like clear what the scope is.
Yeah.
They deliver on the premise, which is taking you inside the mind of a quarterback. As a football nerd, I found it fascinating. It was also reminded me of like a package or a feature that runs on College Game Day, or like before a primetime NFL game, where it's like, well, Aaron Andrews sat down with Jaden Daniels, and then she's like, what an amazing young man, and then it's like, well,
and then they like
you learn something.
Yeah, and then they like show you a tour of their cars in their garage, but then they like cut back to like on the field footage, and then they go to like a screening room, and they like pause on plays, and then they like discuss it,
and it's interesting.
It's interesting. You get a little bit of on the field, a little bit of off the field personality, but you know, you're learning something new, but it's not telling you so much that you're going to remember it forever and be like, can you believe they said this in the quarterback episode? Right,
exactly. Yeah. Hard Knocks. I'm going to be honest. I watched one episode because it was so mind-numbingly boring. It was literally watching guys at practice mic'd up. There was no narrative.
No.
There was no through line.
No.
Sorry if there is one, but I truly couldn't get through more than one episode.
I could not get through it. And can you explain partially the reason why there are not storylines this season based on what happened last season?
Yes. So last season was the Giants, and NFL Hard Knocks, if you don't know, it's the NFL media, and the teams are contractually obligated to comply with this as a piece of media that they have to do. It's like a coach interview.
Yeah.
But there's certain parameters. It's like if you haven't made the playoffs in so long, if you haven't blah, blah, blah. They changed that. Obviously, the Bills went to the AFC Championship last year. And they followed the Bills this year. But last year, they followed the Giants. And you saw the GM and the owner of the Giants decide to trade Saquon Barkley, who is the greatest running back of this generation, to the Eagles. The Eagles then won the Super Bowl largely because of Saquon Barkley, and they gave him a huge amount of money, and he's already playing phenomenally this year.
Yeah, and I think other teams were like, well, we don't want that version of this show again. We don't want to be exposed like that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, listen, understandably, do you want your company exposed like that? No, you don't. You want like a PR approved version of here's some clips from practice with players with microphones and like occasional shots of the players doing other things off the field.
The problem is that then no one watches it.
Exactly.
Which isn't a problem if you're the NFL or the Bills.
Right.
It is a problem if you're Hard Knocks and HBO.
Yeah. Right.
But the NFL doesn't care because they don't need money from HBO.
No.
They've got money from everybody else.
Yeah, they don't care.
So it's sort of when these two things are at odds, like I would argue the Cowboys doc was entertaining because Jerry needed it.
Yes.
Because they're not winning.
Yeah, so he was willing to give up more. He was willing to let people speak more candidly than they maybe normally would have in a documentary like that about the Cowboys if the Cowboys had been playing better.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes, totally.
Like, I think if the Cowboys went to a Super Bowl, oh, well, maybe it would have been the same.
That would have been a redemption arc.
Yes.
If the Cowboys had been to Super Bowls in the past 5 years, I doubt we would. I mean, in the past 30 years.
I don't think we'd be getting this.
I don't think so either.
No.
This feels like Jerry grasping. Also, there's something about Jerry Jones where watching him, he has this smirk a lot of the time.
Yeah.
As if he's the smartest man who ever lived. Yeah. And if he as if he's fooling you. And he's not. Like if you know the history of what's really going on here, like Jerry isn't fooling anyone. Jerry just thinks that because he has the most valuable franchise in sports, he's won.
Right.
Which in some ways he had. Capitalism-wise, you won. Like you won capitalism, Jerry. You did it. But when it comes to respect within the league or when it comes to fans not being frustrated with you, when it comes to not being a joke or not being a soap opera, in addition to winning, you're not winning.
No, you're not winning. It also felt like to me he wanted to do the documentary because all the points I made that were interesting and like learning about his role in the business of the NFL, getting the sponsors in the stadium, all of that is interesting. But the general public most likely probably didn't know about that before, and he wanted people to know about that, to know how much of a mastermind he was. It was almost like he wanted to make a long documentary series with his LinkedIn updates of the past couple decades because no one was writing a Fast Company piece or Forbes cover story about him recently, so he wanted to make his own.
It's so true. And the funniest part of that is that the big fissure, the big reason that those Cowboys teams maybe didn't win 5 Super Bowls that they could have in the 90s was because Jerry wanted credit for the wins and Jimmy Johnson wanted credit for the wins.
Yep.
They show them reuniting. They show them making up at the end and being like, we both played a part in it. And then the whole documentary is truly Jerry Jones still saying, this is all because of me.
Yes.
So while he's on camera saying to Jimmy, we share the credit.
Yeah.
He's winking at it's like Jim in The Office. He's like, but it was all me.
He's like,
because there's a whole documentary made about it.
He's like, I endorsed myself for all these skills
Truly.
and events on LinkedIn. Myself. No one else did. Jimmy Johnson is it. So I'm going to endorse myself by making this documentary.
Yeah. And then pretend that I think Jimmy was equally in the share of making it happen.
Because then you got to think about the behind the scenes of that documentary. They got so many huge players to speak candidly in that documentary, right? They got a former president to speak. And the only reason that happened, I guarantee you, is because Jerry called up George Bush to get him to do it and called up these players.
Yes.
So the only reason this documentary even happened is because of Jerry Jones.
Which is
There's
so
no way
funny.
that the producers were able to, I mean, no shade to the producers. I just mean like his influence is the reason this documentary even happened.
Yeah, because as much as you can be at odds with Jerry Jones, which Jimmy Johnson has been, which Troy Aikman has publicly criticized him, you are still a part of, you are famous because of the Cowboys. You're still part of this. Michael Irvin has also been a commentator. Like, he's talked about stuff. Like, at the end of the day, Jerry's still your dad. And when he calls you and says, I need you to show up for this documentary, it's like your dad saying, I'm like, you need to do your homework in a stern voice. You're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
You show up.
Yes.
Because you only are what you are in part because of Jerry Jones. It really, they talk in the show about how he did a deal with the devil to like have won these Super Bowls and then everything just exploded.
Yeah.
In some ways, if you play for the Cowboys, you're also doing a deal with the devil.
100%.
You're going to be more famous than anybody else. Yeah. You're going to have that star. You're going to make it into the Ring of Honor if you're good. But you're in bed with Jerry Jones.
Yeah. It's the sacrifices you make.
And something that we talked about this before we recorded, but there's a whole episode devoted to the national championship that Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson won together. Mm-hmm. And it felt to me that everything Jerry's done with the Cowboys, the reason he's still there. At the end, they show him going into the locker room after that 2023 loss and telling each player he loves them and hugging them. And part of the whole dispute with Jimmy in the 90s is that Jerry wanted to be at every practice and involved. Jerry has been trying to get back to the feeling of winning a national championship and being a part of a team since he won one in, the 60s?
Yes. Yes.
Like, Also, though, you get the feeling Jerry understands emotion, but he's pretending to have it. It's almost like Jerry Jones is masking. Like, Jerry Jones is terrifying.
He's so terrifying.
Because
there are moments when I was watching it where I was like, I'm empathetic to this man. He really did a lot for the league. You know, he did a lot for the team, did a lot for the sport. But then also I'm like, this man terrifies the daylights out of me. Yes. I'm like, this man is going to haunt me in my dreams like a ghost from the 1800s.
Yes.
Just haunting me.
No,
Jerry.
Truly.
That's what it feels like.
He's charming. Look,
he's charming.
Sociopaths are charming.
He's charming.
Not saying he is one. I'm just saying historically they've
he's
been known to be
he's
charming.
got a little glimmer in his eyes that you like can't look away from, but also want to look away from.
When he winks at the camera. But you're also like, ah.
Yeah. He reminds me of a character in a movie, and I can't pinpoint who it is, but one day I'll remember it.
And we'll say it on the show. One thing that all of these docs do have in common, though, that I found interesting, because, I mean, we were like, even though we didn't really learn new stuff, like, what was it that made us interested at all?
Yeah.
And I think, to me, it was the genuine displays of emotion from these guys. It was like doing a documentary gives these macho guys permission to cry.
Yes.
Jared Goff even cries in quarterback.
Yes, in the first episode.
Yes.
Yes.
And like all of the guys in the Cowboys doc tear up at one point. Jerry's crying constantly.
Yeah.
Which I don't buy, but he does a good job.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if this gives them permission to be in touch with what might traditionally be seen as a more feminine side of yourself.
Yes.
Of looking back and reflecting what your life
being
has
vulnerable.
been. I will say I teared up when it showed Emmitt Smith breaking the all-time rushing record, because you got the sense that Emmitt Smith is maybe like, I couldn't find anything that he did anything really bad in his life, and he seems like a lovely guy, and you're just like, okay, one person got something good,
right?
Because he's crying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. You're so right. It's like permission to be vulnerable for these professional athletes via a documentary.
Yeah,
because I guess what would be the other format for them to do that? Well, I guess it would maybe be like in a post-game press conference. They're not going to, even if they had a big loss, like most of the time, they're just like, man, disappointing.
Yeah.
No one's, for the most part, no one's crying. Yes, players cry after games and when they lose or when they win, of course. But to be able to expose themselves at that level, the only place to really do that are in these documentaries.
Yeah. Because even on a podcast, hosted by other former athletes, you're probably not going to, I mean, sure, you might tear up, but like, something about the set, it's like therapy.
Yeah.
These docs are set up. It's like you and another person, you're in a chair, they're asking you questions, and you start to think about yourself.
Yes, 100%. It also feels like, to me, going back to the Cowboys documentary, with a lot of these players having more off the field issues that are not addressed, that these athletes use these documentaries as almost a money laundering scheme for managing their image. Because they can go in these documentaries, they can be a little bit vulnerable, to your point. They're tearing up. They're telling stories that are true of things that happen off the field that maybe people didn't know, or maybe they did. But then they're also leaving out so much information because they know that the key takeaways will kind of be nothing. Right. And it's almost just like, oh, I really enjoyed getting a behind the scenes look, but I didn't really learn anything, but oh, well, on with my day. Now, when I think about that player, I'll be like, oh, remember when he was telling that story, but I don't really remember what the story is from this documentary, and then I move on with my life. I'm not thinking about all these other bad things they didn't include in the documentary.
Totally. And if you don't know those things, and if you don't think to look them up, then you come away being like, wow, Michael Irvin, he was an amazing player because I saw those highlights, and he clearly feels bad. He did cocaine, but at the end of the day, what a guy.
Right.
And it's like, well,
missing some other details here.
Yeah. And because, as you said, we don't have that counterpoint, you don't get that other information. I think both of us came away from a lot of these docs. I mean, quarterback I thought was interesting because there was something safe that these guys could be honest about, which was football. Like, I found it fascinating when the three of them are describing what happens between the huddle and when the ball is snapped. Yeah. They're like, they basically have to figure out what the other team is going to do. And obviously, like, we know this, but hearing someone describe it, they have a matter of seconds to read the defense, figure out what they're doing, decide whether they're going to do the plan they told everyone they were going to do or do a different plan. If so, tell people how to do that different plan and then execute it. Like, there's such a the work that goes into it, the pain that goes into it. I think that was another through line between all these docs. These guys are just physically hurting all the time.
Yeah.
And so it shows you what this takes and like how much of your mind and your body this sport requires. And quarterback does it in a safe way.
Yeah. Well, and I would actually say about quarterback, even though I said to you, it did kind of feel like at times I was watching like a movie that you watch in school and that your teacher tells you you're going to watch a movie, but really it's an educational movie. You know, it's not a real a movie. But I will say I was educated.
Yes.
Like I learned new things about the mind of a quarterback watching that I did not learn watching the other two.
Yes.
I got to be honest.
Completely agree.
I learned things in the other ones, but when you're actually talking about the sport and the players, I learned, I think, the most in quarterback.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And I think it's funny because something else that there weren't many headlines that came out of these three docs. One of the headlines was that Kirk Cousins, a quarterback for the Falcons, gets his hair cut at Great Clips, which is a chain barbershop.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fun. He's pretty funny.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. I love that scene.
Love that scene.
Yeah.
You learn in, like, I think that if these docs had been explosive in terms of new information, there would have been a lot more headlines about them.
Yeah.
And I think that the sort of bargain you make as both a producer is, okay, we have access, which means we're not going to be able to get into some stuff, which means we might not uncover new information, but we've got the people in it. So it's deciding, is new information more important or is access more important?
Right.
And new information moves the needle, but the average person sitting on their couch being like, oh, Jerry Jones is in this? Click.
Right.
I don't know which wins out these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, we don't know the numbers on how well these docs perform, but I will
say... They were in the top 10.
Okay. All right. So
the quarterback and Cowboys
on Netflix.
Yeah. Hard Knocks. I have no
okay.
idea.
So then they probably did well, but I'm curious how many people watched all the way through. I'd be interested about that because as you and I were saying about Access, like Access feels like the entry point now for these athlete driven documentaries. Access is like the bare minimum, you know, and it's like, okay, what do you do with that access?
Yeah.
Do you create a puff piece or do you actually try to like, essentially, I mean, listen, you would know more about this than I do as a real sports journalist.
Come on.
Like working the sources, like, okay, are you actually going to get more information out of these people? Like we always talk about this and we always go back to it. I'm not saying it's the best documentary of all time, but The Last Dance, it felt like it was a really good balance between you're getting new information, you're also getting the historical facts, a little bit of the oral history, but it also felt like there was like off-camera trust built up between the team making the documentary and the athletes in it, that you were able to get more information and new information with them having the same level of access that they did in all these other documentaries.
Yes. And it's interesting. I you know, part of that is the filmmakers. I think part of it is also what was known before. Like, I think part of The Last Dance was Michael Jordan doesn't talk.
Exactly.
So we heard Michael Jordan talk. Jerry Jones talks all the time.
He's a chatty guy.
Almost nothing new he could have said.
Right.
Unless it was like so explosive that it would destroy him. I mean, not
fair,
destroy him, but
that's
like
fair.
bring him legal trouble.
Yeah,
Nothing can destroy him. He's kind of untouchable.
Right.
But I think that it becomes a question of like, I think part of why Jerry was smirking the whole time is because he thought he had us fooled. He thought that he was like, I told you everything. I really gave you a real in-depth look. But it's like, well, that was mostly
not really
there.
Because and if you think about it, like when I think about the points that were discussed in the show, most of it was Wikipedia. Like it really was an oral history with a little bit of color commentary thrown in there with some opinions, a little bit of the crying, a little bit of the laundering of people's images. But it actually, when I think about it, I actually don't think there was much in there that wasn't known from looking at the Jerry Jones Wikipedia.
Right.
Or the players' Wikipedias.
And I think The Last Dance, even though it did come out during the pandemic, I think it would be more explosive even now than the Cowboys doc was.
Oh, for sure.
The Cowboys doc, look, people like, yes, Jerry did get into the fact that they suck now. That in and of itself is something.
Yeah.
But Jerry's never pretended that they don't suck.
Right.
You know? So
that's
there
true.
were elements where it becomes you're making that choice. And I think Jerry thought he gave enough, but it actually wasn't that much new that.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating though, because what you end up coming away with is how people felt about it or how they say they felt about it.
Yeah. And I think how I felt watching all of these is that you can't label these as documentaries. To me, they're all just entertainment products for our consumption. If you're a fan of the NFL or not, and you're just into documentary, like reality show-esque content, you'd probably be interested in some of it. But I don't think these documentaries are representative of sports documentaries.
No.
Like they're just pieces of entertainment content, which is, fine. But I think what bums me out is like they're being presented as these like behind the scenes, never before seen access. And it's like, this access has all been approved in advance. Like, yes. Like, this is not like they're showing up with cameras right then, like, and they're filming someone like having, like, you remember in the Jinx when the guy's on camera?
Oh my God.
Like, mic'd up in the bathroom.
Yes.
It's not like we're getting like a Jinx-esque, like, confession from Jerry Jones about something, I don't know, from like some player he traded he didn't like or whatever. Like,
right.
You're not getting any. It's just like a curated piece of entertainment. Yeah. It's not a documentary.
And the framing, I think, does matter.
Because,
in a doc, it's almost, I think, too, because social media has given people their own PR platform constantly.
Yeah.
Everything you put out there, you get to decide what it is. People are better at it. So when a documentary comes along, these guys don't need a documentary for exposure. We've talked a lot about this when it comes to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. You will create more news if you give a journalist something new.
Right.
And so the question becomes, as a filmmaker, do you want access? Do you want these people in it so you can say you have them in it? Or do you want to tell a new true story?
Yeah.
Interviewing maybe not famous people, but people who are journalists who've dug into stuff. And if not, if your goal is to make the most entertaining oral history compilation of the Cowboys according to the Cowboys, then you did it.
Yeah.
And they never said that wasn't what they were trying to do.
Right.
And quarterback, it's like, if you know how this world works, why on earth would Joe Burrow tell you anything about his personal life?
No,
his parents are like Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. Their wives are both in it as like let me tell you about Kirk and Jared. And then Joe, his parents are in it because he's not married and he's been private about his private life.
Yeah.
Or tried to be.
Right.
But I don't know. It's fascinating to me that decision, in terms of how you frame it.
Yes.
And if you go into it being like, quarterback, cool, I'm going to follow these guys around for a season, then great.
Yeah, right.
That's what you get.
Yeah, I think it's just being clear about what the goal is of these products.
Hard Knocks, I will say, this season doesn't fulfill the goal of following people around. It was more in the quarterback vein. You could argue quarterback is a derivative of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
But it feels like, while the Cowboys doc and the quarterback doc succeeded in what they were trying to be, if that is indeed what they were trying to be, even though they're labeled as something else, Hard Knocks did not succeed.
No, it definitely didn't. Now, here's my question for you. Having watched these and watched other sports documentaries in the past, do you feel like there's a world where we will get our wish of getting an actual sports documentary from a big company a la Netflix, HBO, about players or a team and some off the field drama that does feel balanced? Or do you feel like now anytime we're getting these big players together, no pun intended, this is going to be the outcome moving forward for the foreseeable future?
That's such a good question. I kind of feel like this is what we're going to get.
I think so too.
Do you think? I mean,
I think so too. To me, it feels like The Last Dance was such a nice balance and felt like a one-off.
Yeah.
I
think that there are also people who would say The Last Dance didn't go far enough.
Right. Which fair.
But it went farther.
Yes. You got like even things like you heard producers kind of pushing back on the Bulls players in it. Like there was questioning and calling out things they said during the interviews,
right,
that you don't get especially in the Cowboys. It's like you're just like getting like just them talking at the camera. We don't know what they're asking them.
Right.
So,
I mean, you get
not that you need not that you need a producer off camera feeding questions and you hear it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the things that could be explosive, even the interview subjects don't fully go. Like the guy who prosecuted Michael Irvin in the cocaine case,
right?
He is basically like, we had him. We had all the evidence stacked against him. It should have been 20 years in prison, and the judge let him off with $10,000 fine and 4 years of probation.
And you're like, wait, okay, I have about 10,000 more follow-up questions to that.
And
decision.
and he's like, wonder what happened. So,
and then anyways, moving on.
And like you can fill in the blanks of guessing.
Sure.
But ultimately people aren't saying, or they're not including it because Jerry Jones is still so powerful. Like the power imbalance there is crazy. Exactly. Also, Michael Irvin slit somebody's throat with scissors.
Yeah.
There was stuff like that where I was like, all of this is out there. But again, if you weren't immersed in it in the 90s or you forgot, you are like, that's another thing about social media. Like these people and why The Last Dance was interesting too, because like the 90s were crazy.
They're crazy.
Social media, everybody's corporate now. Everybody's cleaned up. Everybody's got
Everyone's
PR.
been media trained.
Imagine if you didn't have cameras on you all the time. The stories we would get about these players.
Could you imagine?
They would be acting they would be doing wild stuff.
It'd be crazy.
Now it's all like really managed how they do their wild stuff.
It's image management and a platform for vulnerability for athletes. Yeah. That's what these are.
Yeah, if you're an athlete and you didn't manage your money well and you can't afford therapy, go be a doc. Yes. Be in a doc.
That's our takeaway.
Safe place to cry.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. Well, okay.
Good stuff.
Thank you for listening to us ramble about these documentaries. Please leave any comments about these documentaries or your takeaways in the comments, because I feel like our listeners probably have a lot to say about them.
Anytime we do a more deeper dive episode, I'm so impressed by the comments.
Yes,
on YouTube, on
we
Spotify,
love
the discourse on Instagram,
so
reviews
good.
On Apple. Like it's really very cool to see how you guys all get into it. So yeah, tell us what you thought.
Yeah, so curious. And as always, you can leave us a lovely rating on Apple or Spotify. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Sports Gossip and TikTok at Sports Gossip Show. You can send us a DM on Instagram at Sports Gossip or shoot us an email at info@sportsgossipshow.com.
God, you have that nailed.
And boom. I'm killing the ending.
Firing on all cylinders.
All cylinders, baby.
Winking at the camera like Jerry Jones.
Okay, Jerry.
All right. Great stuff.
Great work.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.